Look at what time it is. It's time for a dictionary reading. Love my fucking dictionaries, man. The old ones, all the better. Because they've got shit in them that you're like, what the hell is that? We're in a hugger mugger now. Oh. What's a hugger mugger? It's one of these words that I saw in one of these old dictionaries I've got. It's a state of confusion. A hugger mugger. Isn't that fun? Hunky dory. I came across the word hunky and dory in different places. They weren't put together, but I came across the word hunky, and it says poached. And like dory was defined as perch. So hunky dory is poached perch. I guess nobody could deny that poached perch is pretty okay. Everything's hunky-dory, man. But yeah, so I come across this and I look and I see what, a bar napkin. Looks like something that would have come out of Timothy's pub. Grass is growing on our memories, and fog is rising in my mind. My steps. I'm gonna start this damn thing over. Grass is growing on her memories, and fog is rising in my mind. My steps grow longer as she falls behind. I try to remember, but the booze draws me near. Its love is unspoken in the mind of a beer. The seed it was planted, but the fruit it was lost. Though to a womb that was barren, and death was the cost. Look at that. Little dictionary. What year is this one? I'm pretty sure this one that's the same age as I am. You don't care. Yep, nope. This one's copyright 43. Oh, there are going to be all kinds of words in here. Wow. And then look at other stuff. You see, I've got things packed in on places where I used to have a word that I wanted to remember. But I find this in here. Goofy isn't funny. This is something I've been thinking about just recently. It crossed my mind. And a friend of mine from Michigan State, he was from, I think, like Peoria, Illinois or something like that. And he said, you've got to see this. He talked about Goofy Ridge. It's a place. I think it talks about it. He gave me this little stapled together thing. It's only 6 pages. I'll try to make it fast and I'll read. But you got to hear this. I was so excited to find this when I opened this up. I really was. This was in 94, 95 when he gave me this. And it's from April 4th, 1986. Give you a minute to light a cigarette. If you gotta go pee, just carry your phone out by the tree line there. You don't have to miss a thing. And if people, the neighbors yell, what the hell are you doing out there? And you say, oh, it's okay. I'm watching the Judas resurrection. You know, this one, it's about Goofy Ridge. Meanwhile, down on Goofy Ridge, things keep getting goofier and deadlier. This bizarre little settlement of travelers, trailers, pig shacks, taverns, outhouses, dirt roads, and about 500 people 40 miles south of Peoria has become a modern-day hole in the wall where criminal plots are hatched, where guns are constantly toted, and where police are hated. It does sound a lot like where my relatives come from on my mom's side. Just a better way to put it, some of my relatives. Goofy Ridge is the only town in Mason County where the coroner carries a firearm, and the only town where the county ambulance service insists on being accompanied by a squad car. Things happen up on the ridge that don't happen other places, Mason County Sheriff's Detective Leland Keith said. This is one of the tiniest settlements in the county, and 90% of our serious crime is here. That's starting to sound like Vanderbilt. While Goofy Ridge never could have been considered a normal place, it used to be a lot more tranquil, a summer vacation spot for blue-collar workers who like to fish and drink beer. The settlement is built on a rise of land before it drops toward the beach at Lake Chautauqua, a backwater lake in the Illinois River, and a federal wildlife sanctuary. Intoxication has always played an important role in the history of Goofy Ridge. Local legend has it that it was while drunken men were taking turns shooting walnuts off each other's heads that the town got its name. A visitor witnessed the walnut shooting incident, the story goes, shook his head in amazement and said, "This sure is a Goofy Ridge." That was several decades ago. The name stuck. Those were decent people back then. Strange but decent, Detective Keith said. There are some decent ones left, but for the most part, I can't say there's that much good about them. As time passed, the spirit seemed to slip from the settlement. People stopped putting flowers in their front yard planters made out of broken toilet stools and a whitewashed tractor tire. By the mid-'70s, the place was no longer a summer fishing and drinking getaway, but was a full-time town for people who liked the fact that there was no government on the ridge, and more importantly, no police force. An employee of the Illinois Department of Corrections recently counted 7 paroled murderers and rapists among the few residents of the ridge. During the 80s, the town has developed what Detective Keith calls Goofy Ridge syndrome. These people would lie when the truth would fit better, Keith said. Whenever we have a routine case on the ridge that could be solved in a half hour, we spend 2 weeks listening to all their lies and then charge everybody with obstructing justice. A young man sitting in one of Goofy Ridge's 3 taverns recently had his throat cut by a man wielding a broken beer bottle. The young man said the incident happened so fast he didn't know who tried to kill him. When the county sheriff's police, the only law on the ridge, arrived to interview the 17 people who were in the bar when the man's throat was slit, every one of them claimed they were in the restroom during the violence and didn't see a thing. That John is about 2 feet by 4 feet and has 1 stool, Keith said. We got 6 or 7 obstructing justice charges on that, but it's hard to get a conviction when even the victim won't talk. Keith said that while he was on a routine patrol at Goofy Ridge a couple of years ago, he passed a tavern with its front door flung open and a combination of beer, whiskey, and blood flowing out the door. When I got in there, every liquor bottle in the place was broken. The beer kegs had been overturned, and a big fat guy had his belly cut from one side to the other. When I asked what had happened, everybody looked at me with an expression of why. Is something amiss? Even the fat guy looked at me that way. People on the ridge are so averse to calling police or associating with any type of authority that they let a popular ridge resident remain dead on the living room floor of his home for 28 days without notifying anybody. The man had been murdered, the front of his head split open by a cast iron skillet that had been swung with such force the impact cracked the skillet in half. After he was hit with the pan, he was shot in the chest. Somebody on the ridge had to know he was dead, Keith said. All anybody had to do was look in the front window. That's all our officer did. Another Ridge resident eventually confessed to the murder, saying he'd killed the man after the victim offered to buy his teenage daughter for $1,000. Police believed the real motive was robbery, and for a while it appeared that somebody might actually get convicted of murder on Goofy Ridge. But the accused man hung himself in jail, in his jail cell in the Mason County seat of Havana, before he could be brought to trial. Sheriff's police seldom are called to the scenes of crimes in Goofy Ridge. They simply discover crimes in progress while on their infrequent passes through the settlement. Keith said he and a fellow officer were driving through the ridge one night and came upon a teenager who was chopping down the door of a house with a machete. Police asked him why he was doing that. The teenager said he wanted to get in the house so he could shoot the man who lived there. As police handcuffed the youth, he slugged one of the officers in the head. The other officer subdued the teenager by smacking him full force on the skull with a nightstick. By this time, the kid's mother and father were there. The mother is a huge woman and the father is a little guy rolling a cigarette. When the mother sees all the blood coming from the kid's head, she faints right over, Keith said. The old man calmly says, "If she's dead, you're in big trouble." He doesn't even stop rolling a cigarette. He just keeps saying, "Yep, big trouble, big trouble." Recently, a Goofy Ridge man had become upset with his dog and shot it in the head. Despondent over the death of his dog, the man then turned the gun on himself. I walk into this place and there's this guy moaning about how he's dying, and next to him is this little red dog with no head. I get down and check this guy out, and he tried to kill himself by shooting a hole through his left arm. He was much more accurate when it came to his dog, Keith said. The man seemed certain the wound in his arm was going to result in his death, and he began making his deathbed confession about how he was the one who placed a bomb in an unoccupied car in the Goofy Ridge driveway after shooting the car with a machine gun. We solved all kinds of things after that confession, Keith said. Somebody in the Ridge finally talked to the police. Last year, police unraveled an insurance fraud hatched on the Ridge which involved death. A mother and her son conspired to kill the woman's Missouri stepfather for his life insurance money. They were successful in killing the man, but were convicted of murder before they could collect the insurance. A frequent Ridge visitor named Herald Cable and his children had his children taken away by the state for actually biting a chunk out of one of their forearms. Known as Weird Harold on the Ridge, Cable lived in government subsidized housing in nearby Havana, but his heart seemed to belong to the Ridge, and he ran his commercial fishing boat out of a small bay near the town. When a woman's severed hand was found floating in the river near the bay, we could tell it was a woman's because of the fingernail polish, a policeman said. Authorities began casting a suspicious eye at Weird Harold during the summer of '84. Within days, police found the woman's legs, arms, torso, and eventually her head, which had been wrapped in an undershirt and impaled on a stake at the shallow river bottom. After being interrogated by police, Cable admitted killing the woman. She had asked to accompany him on his rounds checking fish nets and a letter. After they drank 2 cases of beer, she said something which struck Harold as unseemly, so he cut her head off with a machete, a very common piece of equipment round the Ridge. Then he dismembered her. Cable offered to make amends to society by donating one of his kidneys to a hospital, but nobody wanted any part of Harold. All this stuff. You can talk about hoarding all you want, but these are things that I get great pleasure out of them when I come across them again. It's been, probably 15 years, something like that. No. Wow. 27 years, something like that. And then you look, I think I'm gonna have to light this. You look at how much more fun it can be. Got all this stuff crammed in here, and you look, and there it is. You hear something about conspiracy. Conspiracy. A plot. 2 or more persons engaged together for an unlawful or evil purpose. Bootstrapping. Pulling oneself up. Conspiracy bootstrapping is known to be just throwing lie after lie after lie after lie. Repeated until people just kind of believe it. That is conspiracy bootstrapping. And thinking about that, it makes me think about that guy. See, I have wondered for so long whether this guy might just be intelligent, that guy. I struggle with the idea. I sit there and go, yeah, he's got to know what he's doing. He's got to know a little bit. The problem is just knowing a little bit makes him more intelligent than I think he is. So that's the hard part I have going on. I'm like, hey, he's got some kind of fucking plan. I mean, I've called him a moron before, a moronic thief. When I talk about how, you see him going to get on Air Force One when they did the 21 gun salute for him. You're fucking, you're dead. That's what that signifies. They do that for dead people, you stupid bastard. And then you see this clip, and the music is playing, and it's Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. He's going to Air Force One. That's all it is. It's not the executive craft anymore. It's just they're fucking giving him one last trip out of there. And a one-way ticket. All costs covered. Personal debt paid in full. And I thought how they were stealing it from the hockey team that used it. And then I saw a thing from a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, of Biden coming on to the set of that Colbert show. There's a clip that I saw, and it was right after I'd seen this thing, and I talked about it. I know I did, but I didn't mean to. But it's relevant. As Biden was coming out, they were playing Gloria, 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 G-L-O-R-I, the wrong song. But now that we know each other a little bit better, that's the Doors version of the wrong song. I thought, hey, he's a moronic thief. He just can't be stupid. That's stupid, He's taken his death song, and it's like they should put that together. It's like in Grosse Point Blank, where they're listening to Guns N' Roses doing "Live and Let Die," and then it seamlessly goes into him walking into the convenience store, and it's doing a music version of it. It's all connected, just like that. And the thing we forget is that you never do hear Paul McCartney in that doing "Live and Let Die." It's probably in the credits, but it could be just like that. It's like he was walking out to that song as this guy. Remember, Schwarzenegger Freeman, 2024. I'm just voting again. Schwarzenegger Freeman. That's the team. He walked in and he took over. It's just an interesting thing. So I thought it was all done about, the thinking about him being a moron or something like that. But I still question it as far back as a few days ago when they bring this statue of him out and he holding a little wand. You can't even look at it. It's just so I've still yet to see its head because it's just like oh, what the fuck is that? So I have to look away. And what I realize, knowing this guy is such a racist, why? Because they keep saying he's a racist, he must be a racist. If people keep saying he's a racist, it's obvious he's a racist, right? I mean, it does not work both ways, so I just guess I have to believe that guy is a racist. And I look and I see this little statue of him, and he's wearing the Apollo Creed shorts from Rocky 4, Rocky 3, Rocky 2, 1. No, Rocky got to wear them in Rocky 4, but that was because Apollo was dead already. And the thing is, how can somebody that bigoted and racist make the mistake of wearing a black man's trunks on his statue? And that's when I get to the point. It reminds me of what Arnold said to me. He was my roommate and we worked in the same section when I was in the Army. And he came in laughing the one day and I said, what? He said that Master Sergeant Knox had said about me. He said, Elderquist must be a genius because nobody can be that stupid. That guy. It's the same thing. I just realized I can finally make a connection. I finally understand where he's coming from. He's gotta be a genius because nobody can be that stupid.